Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat on the Serious Angler Network, powered by X2 Power. Guys, great show lined up today. Someone who I have always viewed in the industry of bringing a level of professionalism into the sponsorship side of things. Folks looking to maybe take that next step, trying to figure out a way to represent themselves correctly. I think that this show is going to be packed with information. Someone that I haven't really spent a lot of time with around, someone on the West Coast side of things, and I'm excited to just talk fishing and, of course, talk the business side of fishing, which is what this show is all about. Without further ado, let's bring in Ken MAH from the West Coast, man.
What's up, Adam? How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic, man. I've been kind of, in California, they do these 6-hour rules on these tournaments. So
I've heard that.
Yeah. So basically from June 15th to September 15th,
okay.
The DFG or DFW puts a 6-hour time limit on the tournaments that are had out here. So there's not really a lot going on out here tournament wise. So I've just been enjoying going out to the Delta and just the bite's been like stupid. Not catching a lot of big ones, but I'd say, over the past 6 or 7 trips, I'm catching anywhere from 25 to 35, wow. Keepers a day. So it's been fun.
That is awesome, man. Dude, yeah, it was my first time to the Delta earlier this year. I flew in and fished as a co-angler there and had a good tournament. I think I finished 12th or something along those lines. And
that was June, right? Was that June MLF?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
The Toyota series there. So yeah, man, that was so cool. And I remember I saw you there. And I just was like, this place is something like I had never seen before. All these guys.
Yeah. It's
cool
a magical place, Adam. Yeah. I mean, if, for your listeners and, it's not that far for people to go, I know a lot of people talk about Clear Lake and, you don't have the confusing tide at Clear Lake that you have at the Delta, but just as for, scenery and getting lost, not, figuratively, but I always tell people, like you could be on the other side of the Thule berm. I could be winning $100,000 on this side of the Thule berm and you'll never see me. So that's what I mean by getting lost. That's what I still love about it. There's still places to hide and places to go, on that body of water.
Yeah, it's so windy, and I mean, it's just like massive to me. Just looking on a map, I mean, you just can go so many places, and I love that about it. Like you said, it's not like everyone can see each other either. You can be in a little hidey hole and find something to yourself.
You really can, and it's just what I love about it is it's alive every year, right? Because it's a grass, it's a grass fishery. It's a tidal grass fishery is what it is. And, every year, there's some, obviously, grass spraying and things like that. It's not nearly as bad in the past few years as it has been in the prior, 5. But that's what I love about the place is like every year it's different, like there's some years where, I'll find them here and either the grass doesn't grow or it's overgrown, or the mats are laying out a different way and things like that. It's just always changing. Yeah, it really is.
That's so cool. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's just alive. That's a good way to put it. And it seems that way. I mean, everything's always changing and moving. And yeah, it was an eye-opening experience for me. I've never been on a tidal body of water either. And that was really cool to see when bite windows would just turn on. And I was lucky enough to fly out there and fish with a friend that I practiced for 4 days on it. So I really got to see a lot of different aspects of it. And man, it was a blast.
Yeah, challenging too. It's just like you go from, you get hopefully you get a 30 to 45 minute bite window and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to win the tournament. And then you can literally go like the next 3.5 hours and like not catch one.
Bang your head on the wall. Yeah. I had that experience too. It's just like, what happened? The bite is completely gone.
Yeah. No, it's like that. Definitely like that.
No doubt. So we're kind of in across the country, really. We're in a slow time of the year for tournaments, except for the northern swing. When you look at the national kind of style events and the Northern Toyota Series. But what is your next event? Is there an Apex event coming up? What's your next deal?
No, so Apex ended with Joe Uribe winning at El Cap.
I saw
So,
okay.
Yep. So that regular season has ended, and the it's going to follow kind of a Bassmaster Classic type of format where they do regular season like in 2022, and then they'll end up doing the Classic or the Championship in like the spring of 2023.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, obviously, and you and I talked backstage about it, Rick Pierce and Jeremy DeHart, they're launching this Western Bass Shootout. That's also coming in the spring of 23.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of things going on, in our industry that are really exciting that people, really haven't tried to do before.
Yeah. I agree. And we can get into a little bit of that, Ken. I mean, again, what we'll do is let's break down a little bit of the West Coast stuff. I know it's kind of confusing for folks all outside of the West Coast side of things. They kind of look at the West Coast and like, okay, well, you've got the Toyota Series. Well, Bassmaster doesn't go there, but then there's the Apex, there's
Right.
One Bass, there's all these different things going on. I mean, just a quick breakdown. I mean, what does that look like? And then kind of what were you leading into there with what Rick's got going?
Yeah, so really at what I would call the highest levels, we have Toyota Series. They've been out here, I think, since 05-ish.
Yeah.
And they have strongly supported our region, and they've, gone through a bunch of changes. And so you have that. And then, One Bass, Billy Egan has been, Billy's been, or is the longest tenured tournament director as far as pro-ams that we've had out here. And, he runs a great shared weight format, and he's starting to expand and do those things. And then you have two things under the Wild West umbrella. You have the Wild West Pro-Ams, which is non-shared weight. Okay. And it's primarily in California. And then you can fish the Wild West Pro-Ams and then qualify through the AOI points for the Apex Pro Tour, which was launched last year.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then
how many do they take from the Wild West?
Top 10.
Okay. Top 10.
Yeah. Top 10. Now they have, because we want to build the field to about 50-ish.
Okay.
Right. And it's a gradual build. And so they're going to take the top 10. And then on the last two seasons, they have worked down the field a little to increase the Apex field.
Got it.
But primarily it's the top 10.
Got it. Okay. And then the Apex side of things. So that's that top tier of that Wild West Bass Trail. And that's, I know, a very unique format. And
yeah, Adam, it's every time, like I talk to Panger about it, and it's the most fun that I've ever had tournament fishing.
That's awesome.
And it is, right? Because I mean, I've fished 5-fish forever. And I fished shared weight with Billy before, and I prefer the non-shared weight format. I just I like that, if you beat me over a course of 3 days, you caught all 15 fish, right? Your coin didn't catch 10 of them, and you caught 5 of them. There's
an extra variable there, and that could go either way. You know what I mean?
It could go either way. Yeah, exactly right. So and it's really about preference. There people prefer the shared weight, so they go to the shared weight. And I don't look down on them.
Yeah.
It's a format that was kind of I guess conceived here in the West, because I don't believe they do it anywhere else.
I don't know of a place, that they do it other than the West.
Right, and I believe it was conceived back in the West Coast Bass days, which was like mid '80s, late '80s types of deal. So, and then One Bass has pretty much kept that format through its existence.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Apex, going back to that, I mean, like I said, I always light up because not just because I'm trying to help build something that's different out here, but the format is so basically what it is the full field fishes the first 2 days. And there's 2 ways to get into the top 10.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple. You can either get there catching the most scoreable bass over the first 2 days. And a scoreable bass for Apex is 14 inches or longer.
Gotcha.
So if it's 14 inches on your board or if it's 24 inches on your board, in the Tourney X system, it just counts as 1 scoreable.
Okay.
Okay.
A fish.
So, right, it's 1 fish. And then what happens is we're still fishing a traditional 5 fish limit event during that day because we still have a weigh-in.
Okay.
Okay. So, and it's really changed the dynamic of things because, I use last year at Almanor, John Pearl and Jared Lintner on day 1.
Mm-hmm.
They caught 1 and 2 bass scoreable collectively the whole first day.
Wow.
Okay. In a traditional 5 fish tournament, they're done. They're going home after day 2.
100%.
Yeah, they're not making that weight up on that smallmouth fishery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next day, Pearl went out and hosed like 26 scoreable.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then Lintner caught like 19 scoreable. And they ended up going like from cellar dweller. And I think Lintner ended up Pearl ended up going like 2nd or 3rd in scoreable. And Lintner ended up going like 4th in scoreable. So You're never out of it. And every scoreable fish you catch, I mean, for me at least in the beginning, I mean, you fight it like a 10-pounder because the difference in that scoreable could be the difference in you making the cut or not making the cut.
Yeah.
So it puts a heightened level of, like when we fish the Toyotas,
mm-hmm.
If you have 18 pounds already and your smallest one's a 3-pounder,
mm-hmm.
you hook a 2 or 2.5 pounder, you're skiing it back to the boat.
Yeah.
Right. You're sitting here power winding it back to the boat. And if it comes off, you're happy about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Because you didn't have to unhook it.
Yeah.
So in the Apex format, that fish will matter because it's another scoreable and another scoreable,
Mm-hmm.
And it's really brought a dimension to what we're doing that hasn't been out here. Like when we went to the Columbia River,
mm-hmm.
Christian Ostrander, he caught 100. I don't know if you heard about this. He caught 122 scoreable in an 8-hour day.
That's so many fish per minute.
I mean, it's
10-minute window like that.
Yeah, somebody, I think Panger did the math and he says, dude, that's like catching a fish every 6 minutes. And I'm like, I mean, that's what he did. The camera boat left him and came to me. And he said that he was on him for 15 minutes and he counted. He caught 14 in a row on 14 throws.
Oh my gosh.
He caught 14 scoreable in a row.
That's awesome.
So I like to talk about it because, I don't get up to the Columbia that much and it's just a world-class smallmouth fishery.
Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like when you're catching that many fish. That sounds like the Great Lakes.
Yeah, I mean 60. So another stat: 62 scoreable at that Columbia Arlington event.
Yeah,
did not make the cut.
Wow. So
31.
One thing I'm missing a little bit here, Ken. So the scoreable, the number of scoreables is a tournament going on in itself, and then the weight is going on in itself. So
Correct.
To make the cut, you have to have the scoreables, but then the weight matters at the end, or where does that change?
Okay, so if I didn't say, so what would happen is you would take the top 5 in scoreable.
Okay, I see.
Then you would take the top 5 in weight, total weight.
Okay.
After 2 days.
Okay.
And that makes your top 10.
Got it.
Right. And then what's a little bit confusing is like for instance, Nick Salvucci, who won Trinity, he had like 62 scoreable after 2 days. So he was first in scoreable.
Okay.
Actually, he may have had more than that, but he had whatever he had. He was first in scoreable and he was first in weight.
Got it.
Right. So when you have a double qualifier, what they do is they'll take him on one side.
Okay.
And then they'll call up an alternate. So theoretically, the 6th place person in scoreable could end up being called up to the top 10.
And is it just random on which one they call, whether it comes from big weight or from?
Well, currently, as the rules are written, it goes scoreable first, then goes weight.
Got it.
So, like at Mojave, for instance, they ended up calling up like 4 or 5 alternates because there were so many double qualifiers.
Got it.
You know, and then at Arlington, I think there was only 1 double qualifier. I think Ish double qualified with weight and scoreable, and then that allowed Salvucci to make it in the top 10 on an alternate.
That brings up a point that, I mean, you look at different fishing styles across the country, and you look at like Jacob Porosnik has always said, I'm looking for a numbers deal. I want to wear through as many as I can to get my 5 biggest. And then you have like, I don't know, a Bradley Hallman that's going to go chase 5 big bites, right? I wonder in that format, because you're doing both, and don't get me wrong, people are playing to both of those situations. I wonder how many times, like you said, like at Mojave, it played in both situations versus completely different sides. You know what I mean? Whereas these 5 guys didn't really have anything numbers going, or if that even plays a factor.
I mean, I'll tell you, for me, like I like to catch 5. But in the Apex event, I go into it with a Porosnich, using your analogy, with a Porosnich view, right? I mean, I'm on a fishery. There was no practice. There was 30-day off limits. You can't get any info except you can talk to other Apex anglers.
Yeah.
And a lot of these places, you know, like last year I went to the After Bay. You know, I'm seldom on Berryessa, and then I went this year to Arlington. And there I had like 2 days ever on that fishery. And I'm not bragging, but I ended up winning those 3 events.
So awesome.
You know, it is, but it's also scary. You know, I mean, I tip my hat off, you know, to now that I've had a taste of it, you know, to these anglers that, you know, go out on tour. They've never been to a place, you know, they drive 10, 20, 30 hours. They show up, they get 2.5 days of practice, and they figure them out as they go over 4 days, and they end up winning. You know, I had a lot of apprehension over that Apex format. You know, like I said, you know, I don't care how much you practice. If you practice 30 days, 30 days before, I don't care what you found or what you did or what you think you have going on. It's changing.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, so to go in that format, and that's kind of what I was going to bring up to you. You know, it really brings the best instinctual fisherman out of you. So I go in it with the Porosnich attitude, where I'm going to go just find fish. Yeah. Right. And then in the course of finding, well, I mean, not just, I want to find scoreable fish, right? 14 inches. A 14 incher on most of the fisheries is close to a 2-pounder.
Sure.
Right. So I want to find those types of fish, and I want to find as many as I can. And if I find a place where I can catch 50 of them and they're all scoreable, I agree with them. I'm just going to keep catching them. Yeah. Now, the angler in me, who's grown up all these years, I want to catch big ones. But if the first day, you know, if I end up top 5 and scoreable, well, the second day I have to change my whole basically approach. Yeah. Right. So I'm not going to go out the next day and then try to catch 5 big ones, because then I'll be shooting myself in the foot, because I'm going to, you know, at that point I'm committed to making it unscoreable. You know, so there is some strategy in that based on how your day's going. You know, and we've had anglers, you know, like we had a rookie, Scott Hellison, made every cut. He's much like a Porosnich type of approacher, you know, where he's very comfortable. Yeah, he's very comfortable, you know, throwing light line. I'm sure he does a lot of other things, but he's comfortable throwing light line, reaction, and his attitude is he wants to catch as many scoreable as he can. Yeah. 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 So both sides worked. I would say both sides worked to that. Now the difference is after the first 2 days, the weights are zeroed. So you got the 5 on the scoreable side, you got the 5 on the weight size. That top 10 goes to Sunday, the weight 0, and it becomes a 5-fish, big fish deal. So then you have to change your gears, which I think is even harder it's even harder to do when you have been catching all these scorables.
No doubt. If you're not catching, I don't know, if it takes 20 pounds to win that final day and you're catching a ton of 2-pounders, like you're in trouble.
Right.
Like you need to maybe go get your 5 and then go looking because you got a whole new deal going.
Right. And that's what's great about the format is because every day, you're having to either refigure it out or redo it. It's just like the last one. We did the first 2 days on El Cap down in San Diego. And then the top 10 went to San Vicente, which was about, 20 minutes or so away.
Gotcha.
So they had to start all over again, which I think is great for the viewers because you get to see, it's just like what Bass Pro Tour showed us, right? You get to see these phenomenal anglers struggle.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you relate to that because you're like, man, sometimes I'm like, I go out to the Delta and sometimes, I'll catch 1 fish, 2 fish in a day, and I'll drive home and be like, dude, I can't even catch on my home lake. like what am I doing?
Yeah.
But then you watch some of the best in the world and, it's 8 hours, the time's ticking and they literally don't have a scoreable bass. So I think people relate to that a lot,
No doubt. Yeah. And with the field size being capped at 50, like you said, is that to bring in, I mean, you're bringing up a lot of lakes that I think viewers across the nation haven't really heard of, or is that to go to those smaller fisheries that are, I mean, there's so many of them across the country really, but especially out West that don't get touched, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it.
Okay.
Also, I think a big part of it is that our part of the country, which I guess will be a good segue into what you talked about. Fishing is not a lifestyle here, so to speak. It's not, like, you go into the central or especially in the South and back East, if mom or dad has a tournament, the whole family's going to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I mean by it's a lifestyle, so part of that about keeping the field, pretty small and exclusive initially is yes what you're saying is so we can go to Almanor, we can go to the Afterbay, we can go to Comanche, right? Because those bodies of waters, you put Afterbay, you put 60 boats on there, it's crowded. Almanor could probably hold about 60, but at that 50 boat field. And then what it's really allowed us to do is it's allowed the organization, and along with Rick Pierce at Basscat, it's allowed them to also service other communities that would not normally get a event of this magnitude with the television coverage and the social media and then the anglers media to come into town, to then bring awareness, to an Almanor or to like a Trinity, right? Have you ever been there?
No.
Did you hear about it before that event?
Not at all.
Okay. And did you follow or hear what happened at the event?
I didn't. I missed Trinity.
Okay. Yeah. So when the TV show comes out, you need to watch. I mean, it was nuts.
Okay.
Like I think Salvucci and Nick Cloutier, who Cloutier finished second, but Salvucci, he weighed like 30, almost 33 the first day.
Oh man.
And I think he caught in the neighborhood of like 38 or 40 scoreable.
Wow.
And we're talking, that lake has got 4 to 7 pounders in it. Like, you catch 4 pounders and you're just like, you don't get mad about it. I don't say you get mad about it, but you're just like, man, another 4 pounder. Yeah. He told me the last day, he's a good friend of mine. He told me the last day when he weighed almost 33 and change on Championship Sunday. And then he stopped counting scoreable because on the last day they don't count. But I think he told me he stopped counting scoreable when he hit around 72 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Now he told me that he culled 2 28-pound bags cold, 3 25-pound bags. Oh, and he didn't even count how many 20-pound bags he culled on the last day.
That is insane.
So So my point is to go to these fisheries. What Apex does, it services the community, and then it's a lot of fun as an angler to go to places where you've never been before. It really is a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress, like I said earlier. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of stress, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To do that research, that open source research that you're allowed to do, look at seasonal patterns, actually look at a map, look at Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sit in my garage and I'm marking stuff off of Google Earth, and then you're kind of formulating a plan on like how am I going to, because we show up in the community on Thursday.
Okay.
We have a short meeting. There's times that we'll do some community outreach stuff, and then Friday morning, day one, like they launch us, they ring the bell, it counts right now.
Wow.
Like there's no like, oh, give us 2 hours to go. Like it's right now. And then with that Tourney X, it's similar to Score Tracker and Bass Tracks. With the Tourney X, the anglers are able to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody starts lighting Tourney X up right now, and then if the field starts catching them and you're behind, the pressure builds.
Yeah.
It really does. Knowing the score in a bass fishing tournament, I don't like it.
Yeah, I've never experienced it, and I don't think I would like it either.
Yeah, so I know the first time they piloted it a few years back, I didn't like it at all. So I can imagine what those Bass Pro Tour. I mean, they've probably learned to use it now to their advantage, and they're veterans at it.
Yeah.
But I bet you that first year there were some guys spinning out.
Oh, no doubt. And then also it was always crazy to see when someone would be catching them. And you would be like, oh, well, it's so-and-so, and he's power fishing. And you find out he's not power fishing at all. You know what I mean?
Right.
Your head's spinning like, oh, well, I know who that is. Like, I know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, they got to be doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But, man, it's a very, very cool format. And I think the Apex is an awesome, awesome thing, from bringing some of that professional level kind of stuff to the West Coast. That isn't, I mean, not to say there's not professional anglers on the West Coast, but not that national touring professional. It brings some of that in with the live and that kind of a situation as far as the coverage. I mean, but what we were talking about previous to the show starting was part of, and my question too, and Todd Calcedine and I were talking about this on the previous show, is like, out West, it seems like like you said, it's not a lifestyle as much as it is in the South. Like, you're right. You go down to Texas, like, it is crazy. But out West, there's all these different organizations, and Major League Fishing does a great job, like you said, supporting Western anglers and allowing them the opportunity to make the championship, travel east. But out West, do you feel like how much of this field is fishing all of these type events versus are locked into one series, just the Major League Fishing tournaments, or just Western, or the I guess let's do the one bass, like, how much crossover is there between this stuff? And is there room? I don't know. Is there room there, or is it always been that way? Has it always been guys going their own direction?
Okay. So your first question, I would say that when you really look at the customer base, right? That's kind of the question you're asking me of, let's say, a one bass and an MLF.
Yep.
There is, like, I would say there's probably, taking the US Open out of it.
Yes.
Okay, the US Open is its own animal. It's its own beast. But if you look at all the other tournaments that Billy runs, there's really not that much crossover. There may be 15 to 20 anglers who will fish an MLF event, and then, we'll go fish the Cal Open or the Arizona Open, and they do that, what I call, they'll jackpot that tournament.
Sure. There might be a Havasu guy. It's coming to them.
Right. So they'll jackpot that type of tournament, Now the US Open's a little bit different. You'll get more people that will draw to that marquee event.
That exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said earlier, their one bass does a shared weight format. It does have a following out here, although I know outside of here, people are like, "What? You guys have pro-ams and they're shared weights? That's not a pro-am; it's a team tournament." Right? And that's what people, outside of, say, California, that's how they look at it. But there is a strong following of that out here, and obviously you see, Billy's numbers. He's drawn some record numbers for our region. Over the past 3 or 4 years. They fell off slightly a little bit last year, but he's still drawing.
There's a demand.
In excess of 150 boats, even at his low drawing events.
Yeah.
Right. Which would be the standard for us. Like in any pro-am event, especially non-shared weight event, Adam, out here, that draws over 100 boats. That's seen as a success from the anglers, the organization, and the sponsors.
Gotcha. Okay.
So having those, 250, 300 boat, Texas team trails or Alabama Bass Trail team events, we don't have those high water marks.
Well, and that's really what I was trying to get at, is where is that threshold of like, what that is perfect. I mean, that summed up everything for what I was looking for, Ken, is like, what's the threshold for a good tournament out west? And that sounds like over 100 boats. You're looking at a win for the most part on all sides of what people.
Yeah. For the most part, I would say that's true. And even like using One Bass and Billy. I mean, there were times, back, prior to the economy being good over the last 6 or 7 years, where he was working really hard to get past that 95, 98. I mean, the US Open kind of hovered around 120 to 130 for many years. And to his credit, he's built that, and we've had some fields where there's 260, 270 boat fields in that event.
Being that it's that marquee, I mean, it's the premier deal of
it draws people from all over the world.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not just a nation thing. There's people from, Japan and overseas that come to that, I mean, obviously, it's the event, but it's also, it's also Las Vegas,
That's a good point.
Yeah. Vegas is not very far away from there. And that's a big draw, and people, they make it into a vacation, so to speak.
Exactly. That's right. You could have your family come and hang out in Vegas while you're fishing the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then to segue, back to your original question about, the Apex field, and the second part I was going to say to that is that we still have to, and I'm really mean this, not everybody, but we still have to train and bring the level of our pro anglers.
Okay.
And what I talk about that is I'm talking about their endorsement portfolio. That level needs, that whole baseline level needs to rise.
Okay. And so that was really a big part of bringing you on, Ken, in the first place, was just promoting yourself as an angler. From the outside perspective, seems as if you're at a very high level of professionalism and are looking for the correct situations. And I guess to maybe start down this path, let's talk about a little bit, maybe what are you seeing wrong, and not necessarily like pointing someone out, obviously, but like, where do you see anglers going wrong in today's age when it comes to promoting themselves, sponsorship? I mean, where do you kind of see some stuff lacking?
So it's funny, Adam, because when you asked me to come on and talk about the business side, which I really enjoy talking about, I think that, and I wrote some things down. So there's a couple of things, and I'll kind of lay them out, and then we can kind of dive into what you want to dive into.
Okay.
I think some of the mistakes that anglers do, many of them, is they don't approach it as a job or a business. They it's they come in and they talk to a business owner. They have no documentation, no resume, no proposal. They're dressed like they, just got off the water, and you're talking to a decision maker. That's what I call them. You're talking to a decision maker who, whatever you're seeking. Okay. Obviously if you're seeking a discount off of items or a product, a lot of companies are willing to do that. But when you approach these companies and you're seeking, 5-figure checks, Adam, if I write you a 5-figure check every quarter, I'm going to be asking questions.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I am, because I want my ROI.
Sure.
I'm not going to write you, a $25,000 check over the year, let you go fishing. You put a sticker on the side of your boat and you put a logo on your jersey, and you think that's doing it for me.
That is a great statement, man. I'm like writing that down for some social content, but that is like as far as where our timing is, but that's awesome. Anyone who's gonna bring serious capital to the table when it comes to a business owner or a decision maker, someone in charge of a marketing budget, they're not gonna look at something as oh great, like we're funding Adam's fishing tournaments, like this is great, put it all on the side of the boat and you go do it. Like
right.
You gotta bring some value.
And after every tournament, you get your phone out, you make a couple of social media posts to your 300 followers, and you think you're doing everything you need to do. And there's no disrespect to that. We're just talking about the ins and outs. So my first thing is I would say, people have to approach whatever that is. You have to approach it as a job or your business, right? So some of the other things I'll throw out there. I always tell people you got to know your value. Okay. Do not do it for free. Okay. Agreed. Because if you do it for free this year, if you try to get money next year, they're going to be like, well, Adam, you did it for free last year. Why all of a sudden do you want money to do the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And that goes into, again, knowing your value. And we can dive into those things as time permits.
Yeah.
Other things, like conduct. These companies, there's a lot of great things about social media, but then there's also a lot of things about your social media that could hurt you. How you comment, how you engage, all those things. These companies, basically, that's how they vet you, right? They're if you knock on the door, and you want something, you want an engine from Yamaha, for instance, if they don't know who you are, the first place they're going to look is, okay, well, let me look at how much social media. Let me see what this person's about.
Sure.
So your conduct, not only what I always say, in the light, but also in the darkness. Okay. So how you conduct yourself and how you carry yourself in all aspects of your life, that matters to these companies, right? Yeah. Because look, let's face it, Mercury, for instance, and Yamaha, they don't need Adam and Ken's help to brand their brand.
No,
they don't. Okay. You ask somebody on the street if they know what Mercury is, and probably half of the people who don't even fish know what Mercury is.
Sure.
Right.
Name brand, big name.
Right. They don't need our help to brand. That's not why we're valued there. The other thing is dress, right? And I'm talking even when you're casually dressed. People, especially people out here, I know it's different there, but people out here, they still look at a jersey as like, oh my God, I don't want to, and this is what I tell people, and it's the same thing for you when you fish Toyotas. Okay. You spend $1,700. This is what I would tell the viewers. Whatever your entry fee is, okay? We're just using the Toyota Series as an example.
Yep.
Okay, Adam and Ken spent $1,700 to fish the Toyota Series. Okay, you're guaranteed 2 trips across that stage, whether you caught fish or not.
Yep. Okay,
so this is what I tell people when they're getting serious about pursuing endorsements or sponsorships. Okay, so You Adam, you paid $850 to MLF to cross that stage.
Okay. Why 850? Oh, each day. I see what you're saying.
Think about
it. Yep.
$1,700, right? You divide it into two. You paid $850 because the other 9 hours of the tournament, right? Nobody is seeing you.
There's no guarantees that you're going to be on the media coverage. There's no guarantees that launch, pictures, anything like that.
None. So when you cross that stage, okay. Now, if you had a great day, it was Lappin and Mark McWaw, and when you have a great day, you get a few more minutes.
Yep.
Okay. So if you get 3 minutes, what does your $850 equate to per hour? It's astronomical what you're paying to cross that stage.
Oh yeah. A lot of
money. So how I look at it is when I cross that stage, right? I'm going to be dressed right. I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be professional, right? Because that's when I'm interacting with the public. When I'm in my boat, if I want to wear some holy shorts and a freaking cut off freaking t-shirt, right, while I'm fishing, it's just me and my co-angler anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I approach the check-in boat or I go to tie up and before I go get bags, you're interacting with the public. And I promise you, if you ask any of your endorsers and your sponsors, what do they want you to do? They want you to interact with consumers.
Sure.
They want you to, people want people to buy an X2 battery.
Yep.
Right. Because they had a positive interaction with Adam. Right. And it matters even more when that person goes in there and buys 3 $900 batteries and says, hey, the reason I'm buying this is because I listened to this show and I like Adam.
Yeah.
Right. Now that's moving the needle. They know that that their sponsorship with Adam is working. It's some fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. That's the way it goes. Got a dog barking back there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. You're good. We got Ken chasing down a dog. It sounds like a little yippy dog, but who knows? Maybe it's ferocious.
All right, that was a blowout. Sorry.
You're good, man. You're good.
Hopefully, I wasn't going too long. And that's how I look at it. Like it's my job, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's Vexus or RAM, or Pinnacle Employee Services, who are writing me checks, I take that seriously.
Yeah.
Right. I take I take all my partnerships seriously. Okay. Obviously, when you have a company who's giving you a discount off a product,
sure,
as opposed to a company who's writing you a check, then more time needs to be allocated.
Just value. Yeah.
Right.
To
the value, exactly. And it's not like, a healthy portfolio should include products that you are using.
Yeah, I agree.
That you believe in, that you like, that maybe, like I love Big Bite.
Yeah.
Okay. If they didn't cut me a $10,000 check, I would still want to use their product.
You're going to use it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I would still use the product. So if I'm able to get, product that's valuable to me, that's part of the portfolio, right? So to say that you don't do product only sponsors or endorsers, you're really limiting your portfolio. Your portfolio should really be a healthy segment of everything. And obviously, if the companies who are writing you checks, if hopefully those checks amount and surpass your overhead, right? Because that's really, you can't make money in the fishing industry off of winnings.
No.
Right. I
very low percentage, man. Very low percentage. And in Castledine's words last week, nearly impossible. I mean, and he's someone who has done it at his region. But like he's even talked about taking that nationally, and that is just not feasible from a number standpoint?
No, you have to, if you want to make it, so to speak, you really have to build your endorsement portfolio. That's really the only way for you to, quote, make a living. Like last year, I had I didn't have a Castledine year, but I had an unbelievable year last year. And I made 162,000 last year fishing in winnings. Okay, so does that pay the bills last year? Yeah, but if you took that amount plus all the other money that I won, you added it all up, and then you averaged it out over the last 25 years, right? I don't even know if I'm in the green.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So really the endorsement part of it, the sponsor part of it is a really big deal. So those things, approach it as a business. You have to know your value. Don't do it for free. Your conduct, dress, and then then the two other things that I would tell people is always be clear when you're having a conversation with a company. Be clear what it is the company is giving you.
Okay.
And what do they expect in return? Okay. And can you deliver that? Right. So a lot of times,
be honest with yourself if you can or can't. Like if that's
a lot of times people they can't deliver that. And see, I won't take those deals. If a company comes to me and says, "Oh, hey Ken, we're going to write you a $25,000 check and we want you to do B." If I'm not capable of doing B, I won't take that deal because I don't want a partnership that's just with me for a year.
Yeah.
Right. Because my brand is valuable also. Right. So if 1 year I'm running, a boat, and because they paid me, and I didn't deliver, then next year I got to run B boat. Right. That hurts my brand.
Hurts your reputation. I mean, you see it. You guys flip-flopping, and then not to mention, you got to remember too, on the backside of everything, especially in the endemic side, but even on the non-endemic side, I mean, people talk like there's always communication on the backside about anglers. Again, you have to me, and that just shows your character, Ken, but like you need to be honest with yourself on what you can bring to the table, what you can provide as value. And that's not just taking a picture after the tournament, but would love to get into more ways how anglers can provide value. But I think a big thing that keeps coming up is know who you are, know what you can do and how you can provide value, and look for a long-term relationship, because that's going to benefit you way more than any sort of short-term quick cash situation.
Yeah. I mean, I that's how I approach it, and I think the last thing, is, knowing what you can deliver, what they want in return, and then what that compensation is going to be. And the last thing that a lot of anglers fail at is reporting and follow-up. Horrible. They're horrible at it.
Yeah.
I started, they used to have a thing called a Cox report. Have you ever heard about that?
I have not.
Okay. So Mercury national team used to require us to submit a what was called a Cox report, and it was an expensive report. Basically, a company would accumulate all of your impressions.
Okay.
Whether you were on a podcast that got 200,000 listens, or you were on the front page of Bassmaster magazine or this magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
So it would accumulate all this media, and it would put it into a report. And then you would then hand that at the end of the year to your companies, and then use it to potentially approach other endorsers.
Sure.
So so I don't do a Cox report, but I do I do a quarterly report to all my sponsors and my endorsers.
Yeah.
And it's very, very important to do, because a lot of anglers think, again, you're holding this phone in your hand and you think you post it into IG or to Twitter or to Facebook, and that's good enough. They'll see it. And it's not. And I'll tell you that me following through, doing the proper reporting and doing the quarterly reports and then the annual report that I do, my value and then my level of endorsement and then what I receive from them return has grown, as it should over like the past, I'd say about the past 4 or 5 years. That's been a very valuable part of what I do.
And Ken, I think, and this is coming right out of with the Serious Angler and the group that we have. Bailey is fantastic with that stuff. And we have been putting together a quarterly report for our sponsors.
Right.
And it has just and this is our first year of doing a quarterly report.
Shocking how much, hey, isn't it shocking when you gather the data? You're like, sometimes you look at it, you can't believe you did all that, huh?
Uh-huh. And it is very, very cool to see also when you submit that, how important that is to these brands and how they view that as such a positive thing. And like, say we have a down quarter in viewership, we're like, oh crap, I don't want to see, but you know what? And we just, you show your numbers and what happened. And it has been such a meaningful part of those relationships, because then it keeps you on top with those sponsors. And then they say, hey, look, we're coming out with products X, Y, and Z. We haven't talked about this yet, but we started a conversation this quarter instead of waiting till next year to talk about that when you're getting ready to sign up for contracts again. It just has made such a more fluid relationship with us talking to these, staying in front of these partners over and over again.
Well, and if you're justifying what you're currently getting as you're currently doing it, it makes it a lot easier to ask. Right?
100%.
And that's really the whole thing is, I'm doing that now with a few companies, right? I've compiled my stuff and I've asked for more. And it's not just me asking for more. It's like, hey, look at this data, right? Look at what I have been a part of. Look at what I'm selling, right? Because that's a big part of it. The social media game is changing now. I would say that it's been going in phases. I'd say 6 to 8 years ago, the high number of influencers were coveted. And then I would say not right now, but just prior to now, the companies had kind of pivoted, and they were willing to give product and put it in the hands of content creators. Right? I don't even want to call them influencer. They, you give them a tackle box or a thing of tackle, and you give it to them, and that's their payment, so to speak. They go out and they fish with it. I don't care if they're walking a pond or if they're on a $200,000 boat. They're creating content with that product, and it's been strong. But I'll say there's a shift going on right now where that is not enough anymore. So you're going to have to do a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then more and more companies now are saying, okay, well, we're spending this much money with Adam or this much money with Ken. How do we justify that return? Right. And the way I look at it is, if a company comes to me and writes me a check for $25,000, whatever product they want me to endorse or sell or push, I need to give them at least 300 times that.
300% rule, man. Yep.
Right. That's how I look at it. Right. So if I get $25,000 worth of graphs from Lowrance, I need to show that I'm selling $75,000 worth. Right. I mean, that's a simple formula to me. Right.
Yeah. And I will say, just with conversations on the back end with different sponsors and folks in that position, that is a good baseline number. That is what I have been told is a good look at number of what value you can provide. And that 300% is, I've heard that a couple times now.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, again, it's a formula, right? You know, can Sunline and Big Bite, can I really track how much fishing line I'm selling? Kind of hard to do.
Sure.
Right. So it's more challenging with certain products, you know, and that's why there's always a ceiling with certain products.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's only so much you can get because at the end of the day, you know, what they're giving you it's just, the way I put it, it's immeasurable.
Yeah.
Right. You can't put your finger on it exactly, you know, what you're doing.
Well, it's that relationship side of things too, right? I mean, it's if you are representing boat company A and you're the guy that after a tournament, doesn't matter how you finished, maybe it was good, maybe it was bad, and so wants to check out your boat, or there's someone that's interested in your boat, and you say, hey, get up in the boat, like, let's take a look at things. You know, those kinds of interactions in a short term, you're like, okay, how is the company going to see this? But in the long term, you do that enough, word gets around. Like it's going to come back in my eyes. And that's kind of that immeasurable, I feel like. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're willing to do those intangible things that a company, you know, obviously, you know, your example of, you know, demoing a boat or walking somebody around a boat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why the boat companies want us to do what we do, right? In the end, they don't build boats to give them away, right?
No, they don't.
I mean, that's you know,
It's
that's
not
not why
works.
they're building boats. They're building boats so people can buy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So if you're able to you know, help somebody through a buying process, and that person's able to buy, and then you report and follow up on your quarterlies with photos or things like that, you know, it's like my partnership with Ram. You know, I don't want to go down a hole, but
sure.
You know, I chased them for 3 years before they said yes to me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of that, and I always talk about that because where are we? You know, like I'm on my 3rd contract with them, and I negotiate a 3-year deal with them. You know, and they've literally, I'm on my 3rd truck that they've handed me.
Wow.
You know, so to build a relationship, quote, from scratch, and really, like I said, you know, it's Ram. Their brand helps me, right? Ken Ma's not helping the Ram brand.
Yeah.
Right. But what I'm helping them with is do direct sales. Right. Is influence and move people, you know, and that's what they care about.
Yeah.
Right. And that brings me that one other thing about this whole, everything else we've talked about.
Yeah.
Is every single one of mine, yours, and your listeners' portfolio, every single one of those companies wants something different.
Listening.
They do. They want something different.
Yeah.
And it's important that you know what that is. You know, and because again, people think because they hold the whole world in their hand, right, with the cell phone, people think that, well, if I'm posting and I'm tagging and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, right, I'm doing my job. You know, and this is the, like, I always tell people, like, well, yeah, I'm doing this. You know, I use Ram as an example, right? Ram and they give a rat's, you know what, about my social media.
Yeah.
They don't care if I'm posting, tagging them. They don't care.
Yeah.
Right. They're in the business to sell cars.
Yeah.
Okay. However that happens, right?
That's their goal. That's their number one want right there.
If I put Adam in a headlock, drive to Colorado, and I put you in a headlock, I throw you in the back of the trunk. I throw you in the back of the trunk, and I walk you into the dealership, and you buy a car. They don't care how you got there.
Like, thank you, appreciate it.
They don't care how you got there.
No.
You know, So what I would say to the listeners too is you have to know, again, all the other things we talked about. Be clear, know what you can deliver, but you also have to know, what is important to each one of your supporters. And there's times, there's people, and I have friends. I don't currently have any on my portfolio, but there's some companies who, a friend or it's a humongous company and they like you. They just like Adam.
Yep. It's just
right.
Yep.
And they're like, you know what? Hey, Adam, we're going to write you a check for 20 grand. Send us an invoice. Oh, well, hey, send us our logo or send the artwork over. No, we don't care about that.
I haven't had any of those, Ken, but that sounds great.
I don't currently have any, but I have some friends that have one or two like that.
Yeah.
Where that the company's well off, or the person that owns the company is well off, and they have some expendable marketing money, and they write it off as such, and you're good. So there's some of that, a little bit, very little, that exists out there.
Yeah.
But when you have a relationship like that, you're not getting any better. Right. You are. I mean, you as an angler, you as a promoter, you as a marketer, you're not getting any better.
You're not perfecting your craft of being a good marketer, you're saying.
Well, yeah, and you're not growing, right? Because what if one day that owner sells his or her business?
You're done.
Yeah, now you're done, right? And you're scrambling, trying to figure out, and you haven't gotten any better.
I see what you're saying.
So, but there's a bunch of different ways. There's not ever one way, but there's a bunch of different ways that you can make yourself valuable.
Yeah. And that comes back to, what is the company looking for, figuring out how you can provide value. And that may be a lot of different things.
Yeah. And I think, I guess the other first thing, because we are talking about fishing, is you have to have fun, and you have to, I want to take into consideration that off the bat, what we're talking about is that you have to have some type of platform.
Yeah.
Whether it's the television of Apex or the media of MLF, and then if you're good at fishing, that helps, right?
That's a factor.
It does help, right? But it's not the only factor, right? Because I can name you a bunch of true hammers who can win, who on the endorsement side, either they don't care, or they're incapable.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
And right? It is, and that's like something, I mean, I've been thinking about here a lot lately too, is like, you'd look at, and there is no shame in my eyes to someone who has struggled through building a business and creating a business, and then having this discrepancy income to go and fish professionally, go make the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit, whatever it may be, and not really have to rely on a sponsorship dollar, or maybe
you're just paying it your own way.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that. I agree. Now, I think the vast majority of people out there can't do it that way, or aren't capable of going and building a business or wanting to do that route. And so, like, to me, it's either that way or the promotional side from making a living in the fishing industry, in the tournament fishing industry.
Yeah. And it's not by winning tournaments. It's not, people look at they always look at the entry fee, the payout, and the percentage.
Yep. And they look at the top end of the payout.
And that's what people talk about, right? And here's what I say. There's one winner and there's 49 losers.
Yeah.
Right? Now, did the 49 people get a check? Yeah, sure, they got a check, but there's still 49 losers. Right?
Even in a lot of situations. or less.
And you can't even, you know, so let's take Bass Pro Tour. Let's take the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit real quick. Entry fees $5,800 to $5,900.
Yep. We just bumped up from what, five to
right.
5-7 or something.
Yeah. So let's call it $6,000.
Yep.
They do 6 events, is $36,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you make the first cut in all 6 of them, you make $60,000.
Yep.
Okay. When you look historically of how many anglers have made all 6 cuts, super rare.
Top 25% or lower.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't even happen to multiple people in a season.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if you make half the cuts, they see that as a success.
Yep.
Okay. That's $30,000.
That's not making money. That's losing $30,000. That's losing.
I don't care how you pencil it. Right. And I'm not picking on them, because you could do the same at the Elite Series. You know, you could do the same across the country.
In any fishing, yeah.
In any fishing organization, you can do the same math across the country, is my point. I'm just using them because it's the easiest math, because it's 6 events and I know how much the entry fee is. Okay.
Yep.
So we just said, if you make half the first cuts, right, you're going to gross $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you paid 36 just to enter the 6 events. Right. We're not even into expenses, this, that, and the other. Right. And let's not even add equipment into bass fishing.
Oh yeah. No, that's
right? Forget equipment. Right. Because but if you were a contractor and you had a backhoe,
mm-hmm.
right, that you used on a construction site, you could bill that backhoe out for 300-400% of what it's costing you every month.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And you know for sure that if it's costing you $10,000 a month to own that backhoe, you know for sure you're getting $40,000 a month back.
Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
You know, our boats and engines don't work that way.
No.
So I leave those completely out, because you know why? Whether you were fishing the Elite Series or not, if you're an angler, you own a boat.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna own it anyways.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, like my thought process with it too, is it's an asset that you can't, I mean, if you are fishing, it's you're going to own a truck, you're going to own a boat, those types of things. You can't view it that way. Now on your taxes, you can depreciate these things out. But what I'm saying from looking at the business standpoint, I'm in the same boat as you. I look at the numbers in and the numbers out every year, and that's not including those assets, because same thing with tackle, same thing with rods. I don't know. I view it that same way, as that's an expense. It's the same thing with like going to a tournament and eating lunch versus eating lunch at home. You're still spending money either way and you
still got to eat.
Still got to eat.
You still got to eat. That's what I tell people, So, and look, if you're going to look at this from a dollars and cents standpoint only,
mm-hmm.
it will never pencil.
Oh no, it's bad.
It will never pencil at any level. You can do it at a team tournament, and it doesn't pencil. So and I think that ultimately, it's funny because I was listening to Derek Hudnall. He's a friend of mine, Elite Series Pro, and he posted a video today, and over and over again he said, "I just want to have fun." And the grind is so real. When you're trying to fish at the highest level, and what I mean by this is whatever your highest level is. It doesn't have to be the Elite Series or the Bass Pro Tour, right? It doesn't have to be Apex.
Yeah.
When you're competing at your highest level, the money will never, ever line out. Okay. But there's no amount of money that you spend that will replace the accomplishments that you have accomplished in your life, right? How do you put a value, like in 10 months, I won 4 majors.
It's incredible.
It is. And I don't say that to brag, but if you ask me, well, Ken, what would you pay for that? Right. Well, I mean, just to actually accomplish that, man, if I paid $10,000 each one, if I paid $40,000 over the course of those 10 months to do that, that would be a lifelong dream of accomplishments.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I relate fishing a lot. Just so my younger brother won a national title this last year wrestling at NCAA's,
Right.
and I relate fishing a lot to wrestling from the standpoint of there's no money in it at that top level. So you gotta love it because these guys that are the best in the world competing in the Olympics, they're not doing it for the money. There's a lot of better options than bass fishing to make money.
Oh, huge. Huge.
So you gotta freaking like it because it is it's just not the way it rolls. So I mean, those accomplishments are what you are looking for. That's what you're trying to get out of life. I mean, the
Yeah.
dreams.
And I guess kind of to tie it up, to follow along what you said is it is the accomplishments, but along the journey, if you're able to, because you enjoy it and you're having fun, get endorsers and sponsors who are willing to either pay your whole way or half your way or some of your way. And it's a reciprocal relationship where you're getting equal value for what you do and they're getting a value and a return on their investment on you. Don't we win? Doesn't everybody win when that happens? Because I had a friend tell me like 25 years ago about sponsoring.
Yeah.
He said to me, my buddy Vince said to me, he says, listen, he goes, what would you do if you lost your boat deal? I go, I'd buy a boat. He goes, what if you couldn't drive that truck? He goes, well, I would just buy a different truck. Right. He goes, well, what if this happened? And he asked me 2 or 3 like life kind of serious life things. And I said, well, I would just do this. I would just do this. And he goes, okay, so we've determined that you would fish no matter what. I go, absolutely. Right. He kind of ran me around.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, absolutely. I would fish no matter what. He goes, and this is what he said to me. This was his punchline. He says, well, if you're going to fish no matter what, you might as well fish for as close to free as possible.
Dang. Drop the mic. That's a line.
And this was way back, Vince told me this way back when, and you have to build your portfolio. There's some anglers at whatever level, again, you build a portfolio and it's just enough to pay all your overhead.
Yep.
Right. And I would say not a lot of people get there.
I agree.
Right.
It's not
a lot of people.
Low percentage that get to that point.
Right. A very low percentage. And then there's some people who, I always do it in percentages. They might get half of their overhead paid. They may get 30% of the overhead paid. And then there's a small percentage who get above and beyond whatever their overhead is, and that's how they pay themselves.
Yep.
So, and I think in the end, if you have fun, you do the things that we talked about, you follow up, right? And you show value in what you're doing and in your social media and in your conduct and in your how you carry yourselves. Whatever you're seeking, it's there to have. A lot of people say, oh, well, sponsors are not doing this or they're not doing that, and the majority of those people, they're not talking their language. It's there. It really is. Now, is it there for everybody?
No,
it's not there for everybody, but it's there. And when you have, if you possess the ability to be a great angler or a good angler, you dress the part, you speak the part, you look the part, right? That's all part of it also. And then you can follow through, execute, and communicate, right?
Simple steps right there.
I mean, it's there. When you do that, you really shine in the industry. You really can do that. It's there.
Ken, that's awesome, man. Well, we're running a little long here, but that's
okay.
Perfectly okay because this has been fantastic, and I appreciate you coming on. One thing I always ask the end of the show: your 3 biggest largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, where you were and what you caught them on.
Okay, 13.5 on the Delta. Not during a tournament. Black and blue jig.
Dang it. Okay, nice.
Spotted bass. I caught a 7. Actually, caught 2 sevens. One was a 707 spot.
Holy moly.
At Lake Shasta.
Yeah.
Day two of the One Bass Pro-Am that I won.
Wow.
And I caught that on a rig.
Wow.
And then my biggest smallmouth, Columbia River.
Okay.
Not in a tournament. It was in practicing for the National Guard when it was out here back then.
Mm-hmm.
I caught about put it on the scale. It was like a 580.
Nice.
Smallmouth on a lipless.
Wow. On a lipless. Yeah. That's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Thought I was going to win the Turby because that was the first day of practice.
Of course.
Didn't
That's
happen.
Awesome. Oh, those big smallmouth, man. That's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool, Ken.
Yep.
Well, Ken, I appreciate you taking the time out, man. We talked about some great topics. I think that is so extremely valuable to and honestly pertinent to where anglers should be looking in today's age. And I really appreciate you bringing out all the tricks in the hat on what it is. And thanks for coming on, man.
All right. Appreciate you. Thanks, Adam.